that we need, okay? So first, for domain, remember we look at our x values from left to right. For our range, we look at our y values, and we go from bottom to top. Axis of symmetry. If it is symmetric, we write the equation as x equals whatever the number is that cuts it in half. Okay, for our x-intercepts and y-intercept, we answer with a point. And to do a point, you do the x-coordinate, comma, then the y-coordinate. For increasing, decreasing, and constant, that doesn't have constant right there, but if it did, okay, you use your x values, and you go from left to right, and these will always be in parentheses, okay? So that is what we are checking for these, and we're going to use our graphs to do that. So we're going to go ahead and look at this graph here to the side. What is the domain of that graph?
Bracket, -3, bracket, right?
Yep. Bracket, -3, comma 3, bracket. Because what are both of those points right there? Closed dots. So that means we use brackets because they can equal those. All right, for the range, what's the lowest y value? 0. And what's the highest y value? And do those get parentheses or brackets? Both of them get brackets. Okay, even up here, because is there an open circle up here that we can see? No. So what do we assume the line is if we don't see an open circle? Closed circle. Now, is this graph symmetric? Yes. If you had to draw a vertical line to cut this in half, where would you draw it at?
0.
X equals 0. That would be the line right through here. So we put x equals 0. Now, how many times does this touch the y or the x-axis? Twice. So what is the coordinate to this point?
-3, 0.
So that's our first one, -3, comma 0. And then what is the coordinate to this one?
3, 0.
Now, what is the y-intercept?
0, 3.
0, 3. Because it is the point found here.
Okay.
All right. Now, for increasing, decreasing constant, the best way to do that is to just start at the left of your graph and work your way through it and see, is it increasing, decreasing, constant? Okay, so if we look at the left side of this graph and we trace it, what is that doing right there? Increasing. So when does that section start increasing? At -3. And when does it stop increasing? At x is 0. And we use parentheses for that always. Okay? Then it switches. What does it switch to? Decreasing. Okay? When does that section start decreasing?
0.
And when does it end?
3.
So is that graph ever constant?
No.
No. Okay? So that's why there's not a constant there, because I knew it wasn't there, and so I cut it out. Now, we're going to look at the next two. Both of these are a little weird looking, so we're going to go ahead and start with this question here. What is the domain of this graph? -4 to +4. Parentheses or brackets? Brackets on both sides, because both sides have closed circles. All right, what is our range? -3 to +3. Parentheses or brackets? Brackets. Is that graph symmetric?
Yes.
No. Okay? Because to be symmetric, it has to be so that if it was a mirror of each other, so if you fold it in half, it would match. So if that was symmetric, this side would be the opposite. Okay? Yes?
It's only 3 and 3 because they all going down to 3.
Yeah. So the lowest point is at -3 and the highest point's at +3. Yeah. Now, so this does not have an axis of symmetry. So how many times does this cross the x-axis?
5 times 5.
5 different times. All of those are considered x-intercepts. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with this one. What is the coordinates of that point? -4, 0. What is the coordinates of this point? -2, 0. The coordinates of this intercept?
0, 0.
What about this one? 2, 0. And what's the last one? It is back to being 4, 0. All right, what is our y-intercept, though? 0, 0. Okay, so this one has several x-intercepts. We include all of the x-intercepts that we have. Now we're going to go ahead and look at where it's increasing, decreasing, and constant. Okay, so we're just going to start at the left and go through this. So the left-hand side, we start here. Increasing or decreasing?
Increasing.
Increasing. Where does that section start increasing at? And at what x value does it stop increasing? Negative 3. Then the graph switches to what? Decreasing. Where does that section start decreasing? Where does it stop? What was that? All right, what does our graph go to after that? It's back to what? Increasing. Okay, so we have to think back for a second. When we need to combine two intervals, what symbol do I use?
Union.
The union, the U symbol. So we're going to now do that next set. Where does this part here start increasing? Do what? No, it's negative 1.
Oh.
Yep. Then where does it stop increasing? X values, remember that. 1. Because it goes from negative 1 to 1. That's where it stops increasing. Then it switches and goes back to what? Decreasing. So I need to put a what? A union. And then when does this section start decreasing? What X value? 1. And when does that section stop decreasing? It is 3. Because it's over 1, 2, 3. All right, for our last section here, what is it doing? Increasing. So we need to put yet another union. And when does this little section here at the end start increasing? And when does it end?
4.
All right, so before we move on, I want to ask a question. Why do these get a union, but these don't?
They're connected.
These are points. Those are just a list of points. Like, it is just the list of points on the graph. These intervals here are all increasing intervals. So we have to connect them with a union, okay? Because they all are increasing union, like in intervals. Because when we do this, we're finding every single interval where the function's increasing. So that is why we have to list them all together like that. Now, is this graph ever constant? All right. So now we're going to go ahead and look at the last question on this page and go ahead and look at it. So for this one here, what is our domain? So we go from negative 3 to 3 with parentheses. Why is it parentheses on this one? Because both of the circles are open. You have a question?
No, I was trying to see, because so that the circle or upper circle is a 3.
Yep. All right. So from here, okay, I want y'all to go ahead and I want you to look at your range. So the range goes from the bottom to top. Where is the lowest y value this gets? Where is the highest y value? So I want us to look at this. Here at the bottom at negative 3. So when we look right here, is that an open circle down there? No. If it's not an open circle, we assume it is closed. So we need to use a bracket. Now, the top of this graph is a little weird. Okay, so this entire line here is where y is equal to 3, right? We know that. So whenever we have an open circle, that means that point is not equal to 3. But is there any other points on that graph that do equal 3?
Yes.
Yeah, basically anywhere on this little spot, right? All of those points on that line do equal 3. So does this graph have somewhere that equals 3?
Yes.
Yes. So since at least one of the points up here does equal 3, and they're not all open, that right there will also be a bracket. Okay? Because there is somewhere on this graph that y value is 3, right? Y is 3 here, y is 3 here, y is 3 here, y is 3 here, here. All of those places y does equal 3. The only places y doesn't equal 3 is here and here. So we can use a bracket there instead of an open circle. Do what? If you have a question, ask it. Yes.
So if, like, as soon as you go up and you hit that line where y equals 3, and you keep going and then it doesn't, like, equal 3, does that mean that that little line is, like, decreasing? It's
No.
not constant?
It's still constant. Yeah.
So, like, one point is higher than the other?
No. Okay? It's not that that point is higher than the other. Because at any point on here, y is equal to 3. But the thing is, the function is not defined right there. It's just not defined. It's like yesterday. That block is missing in our Minecraft world.
Okay.
So,
Oh, it's open.
yeah, it's open. So that block is missing. These blocks are all here. Okay? Those blocks are all where they're supposed to be. But this block here is missing. So there is a block where y is 3. But we just can't step here. Yeah. All right. So is that graph symmetric?
Yes.
Okay. Where would you need to cut it in half at? 0. So our axis of symmetry is at x equals 0. I do want to kind of talk about one other thing with the range here. If this graph would have looked like this instead, for this graph, is there anywhere that x does equal 3? No. So for this one, would I use a parentheses or bracket? Parentheses. The reason this is different is because of that little constant piece there at the top. That constant piece gives us a value where it is 3, okay? So that is why this one is different. Like, that is why that one is the way it is when we use a bracket, not a parentheses. All right, now, how many times does this cross our x-axis? 2. So what are our x-intercepts? -1 and 0 and 1 and 0. What is our y-intercept? All right, so I'm going to start at the left-hand side of our graph and go through the whole thing. So is this part of our graph increasing, decreasing, or constant? Constant. When does that section start being constant? And when does it stop? Whoops, where did I write that at? Where is it supposed to be written at? So let's move that. All right, the next section of our graph does what? Decreases. So that next section, when does it start decreasing? And when does it stop decreasing? For the next piece, what does the next piece, what is it doing? Increasing. When does it start increasing? And when does it stop? Okay, then we have one last piece of our graph that does what? So when does that section start being constant? And when does it end? And what do I need to put between those two constant intervals? A U. Make sure we connect them. All right, so we have some practice we're going to do. We have 6 graphs, okay? We are going to turn these in, okay? So you were going to get this. It is 6 questions set up exactly like these, okay? With the exception of maximum and minimum. And we're going to go over what we need to do for that part. So once these all get passed out, we're going to do question 1 all together. I'm so sorry. Oh, I've been doing pictures a lot. Did you click pictures?
No.
Yeah, the X value right here is the 2.
What?
Yep.
History class.
Oh, yeah, wait, Kobe Bryant died.
And then third in a row speaking is AP. Not a good
What's he doing back here?
Like,
He's hitting the bait. He's hitting the pin and the bait.
That is a lie.
So he's just being a bad kid.
No, I'm a great kid. Ask my mom.
All right, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at our assignment. Okay? We're going to do this is what it was supposed to look like. But because I didn't save it as a PDF before I sent it to the copy machine, it messed all the fonts and everything up. And so now you have an itty bitty tiny little paper.
I spit on my paper on accident. I was laughing and I spit. I just can I please get a new paper? I just don't really want this paper.
Well, throw away your spit paper, please.
But still, like, I don't want my paper.
I mean, it's your own spit, right?
Well, yes.
If Connor spit on it, I would understand, but you left and then came back? Oh,
That's bad.
okay. We're starting our assignment. All right. So, everybody, go ahead and listen up, please, so we can go over number 1. Okay? We are going to do number 1 together. Okay? So, for number 1, what is our domain? Okay, so is negative 5 going to be an open or closed circle? Or it is an open circle, so it is a parentheses. Okay, now, as it goes to the right, does it ever stop? So where does it go to? An infinity always gets a parentheses. Now for range, we go from the bottom of the graph to the top. Where is the bottom of this graph at? Okay. Parentheses or bracket for negative 6? Bracket. And then it goes up to infinity. Is that graph symmetric?
No.
So it has no axis of symmetry. In fact, only one of these 6 are symmetric. Okay. Now, how many times does this cross the x-axis? So what is our x-intercept?
0. Oh wait. My bad.
4, 0. How many times does it cross the y-axis?
1.
Where at?
0. Negative 4.
All right. So now we're going to look at the increasing, decreasing, and constant section. So we're going to start at the left. At the leftmost part of this graph, what is it doing?
Constant.
It is constant. When does that section start being constant? And when does it stop being constant? So it is constant from negative 5 to negative 3. Then it switches to what? Decreasing. At what point does that section start decreasing?
Negative 3.
And when does it stop? So from negative 3 to 2, that graph decreases. Okay, and remember, we're looking at our x values. We're looking at what's happening on the x-axis from negative 3 to 2. Now, that last section of our graph is doing what? Increasing. So at what point does that section begin increasing? And does it ever stop increasing? No. So it goes from 2 to? Now, maximum and minimum is actually really self-explanatory, okay? We just find the highest point for the maximum and the lowest point for the minimum. So when we do this, we're just going to answer with the y value, with what y value is the maximum or the minimum. So we're going to start with our minimum. What is the minimum y value of that graph?
Negative 6.
So that's what we put, okay? What is the maximum of that graph? Is infinity a number you can reach?
No.
So does this graph ever stop going up? So do you have a max? No. Because it goes on forever. So if it goes up forever, will it ever reach a highest point? No. All right. So y'all are going to work on the last 5 of these. Okay. So I want y'all to go ahead and work on these. And we are turning these in. So I want you to work on them for the rest of class today.